One of our favorite pastimes as kids was watching our favorite cartoons and shows. Most of the time, our parents monitored what we watched. But even then, there were some subtle messages and innuendos that slipped through the cracks. Want to know which ones? Stay tuned and find out. But before we do, make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all the latest content on Screen Rant. But first, can you guess what feature film these emojis are showing? Find out at the end of this video.
Tommy Wommy RTD, he's wonderful. Yo, isn't he just the most?
Yep, that's one fine-looking young pickles you got there, Stu.
Rugrats. The show had some very creative adventures the babies went on, but we also got to know the parents and their personalities. And just like when we were kids, sometimes the adult dialogue and moments got lost on us. But looking back, there are some moments in the show that we are happy that we didn't get. Like when Tommy's grandpa tells the kids he rented them some movies, Reptar Come Home and Reptar Redux. He then mentions he rented his personal favorite,
Lonely Space Vixens,
which is for after they go to bed. With a title like that and the fact that the kids have to be asleep for it, we're pretty sure Lonely Space Vixens is a very adult film, if you know what we mean.
Say goodnight, sucker. It's way past your bedtime.
No, please, don't! I didn't!
The Powerpuff Girls accident. Sugar, spice, and everything nice are said to be what little girls are made from. Cartoon Network's The Powerpuff Girls took that to a whole new level when they created a story about a professor who wanted to create the perfect little girl. But when he was mixing the ingredients, Professor Utonium accidentally broke a bottle of Chemical X into the mix and created the superhero trio Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup. In one episode, they made a friend named Robin, who they have over their house for a playdate. After the professor introduces himself, Bubbles goes on to mention that he made them in his laboratory by accident.
Yeah, he made us in his laboratory by accident.
Well, what can I say?
Don't worry, Professor. I was an accident too.
Did you get the joke when you were a kid? This is, however, one of the more tame ones on our list. Maya the Bee. As streaming has become the norm to how we watch television, we usually trust Netflix to have something to watch. And when it comes to cartoons, we know they're always child-friendly, right? Wrong. Maya the Bee is a show on Netflix that was created by Studio 100 Animation. It was based on a German children's book series first published in 1912, so how harmful could it really be? Well, it so happens that a few parents noticed a crude drawing of the male anatomy in one of the scenes. A couple of moms took to posting a screenshot on social media to show that the image was in episode 35 of season 1. One mom insisted that she did not make any edits to the image. If try and search for the episode now, it has since been removed. Now, we wonder how and why this phallic image was added to an otherwise kid-friendly show. What was really the point? That should definitely not be an Easter egg that parents have been happy to find.
Remember, I wanted to cover the roof of my mouth and look just like the picture. A big can of beans that says Gloria on it.
Coming right up, Mr. Honey.
ROCKO'S Modern Life. Just about everything in this show is borderline too much. We wonder how it got approved. But to be honest, watching this show as an adult, you realize two things. One, you probably shouldn't have watched this as a kid, and two, you probably relate to this show a lot more than you should. ROCKO'S Modern Life reflected the struggles of adulthood. The young wallaby had to deal with a scary boss, the tribulations of dating, and even taking some awful jobs, like being a late-night phone sex operator. In one episode where he is trying to find different jobs, he comes across an ad for a specialty phone operator. It cuts to him holding up a phone saying,
Oh baby, oh baby, oh baby.
Rocco?
Mrs. Bighead?
In the background, we see that the place is called the One-on-One Hotline, and next to him is a set of rules taped up on the wall which say to be hot, be naughty, and be courteous. That doesn't need much more explaining, now does it?
Oh, you did it.
I bet that jingled his bells.
Victorious. It's time to make it shine, friends! The show Victorious follows kids who go to an art and performing school. The main circle of friends are all heavily into music and singing, and you may recognize this show as the place where Miss Ariana Grande got her start as the lovable Cat Valentine. And let's face it, she was hysterical in that show. This show was more so directed towards teens, but as we know, kids also watched it. This show also had its share of naughty jokes and innuendos. For example, in the episode A Christmas Story, the Hollywood art students are celebrating the holidays. Andre is freaking out because he got a bad grade on a Christmas song he wrote in class. He comes into class upset and asks his fellow classmates,
How does a person go from an A to a D?
Happened to me in 8th grade.
In true Jade fashion, she didn't even look up. A very hilarious joke about boob size growth. If you're curious, he got his grade changed to an A after the team joined forces and performed his song for the teacher. SpongeBob SquarePants Mystery Coin Slot. For those of you SpongeBob fans, chances are you've noticed a few somewhat inappropriate things here and there. Some are purposeful nudges, others we aren't so sure about. But let's talk about the episode My Pretty Seahorse. You may recall that SpongeBob ends up with a beautiful wild seahorse who he ends up calling Mystery. At one point, Mystery ends up at work with SpongeBob. He tries to hide her, but fails. Mr. Krabs makes it clear that she is a wild animal and can't be in the restaurant. SpongeBob ends up tying her out front to the Krusty Krab. A couple of fish comes by and assume that Mystery is a coin-operated kid ride, so naturally, he begins looking for where to put the coin.
I can't find the coin slot! Here it is!
Now let's think about that for a second. Where would possibly put a coin into and elicit that sort of reaction? Poor Mystery. We snaw.
Oh, prove I'm unpredictable? I know. This is the part when you get yourself into some weird situation, and then when I try to warn you about it, you'll just say...
The Amazing World of Gumball. In one episode called The Hug, Darwin calls out Gumball for being predictable. So he runs over to Hot Dog Guy and hugs him out of nowhere, and then smiles at Darwin. The next day, Hot Dog Guy and Gumball run into each other in the hall and awkwardly hug. Because as Gumball explains it, you can't de-hug someone once you hug them. Another day goes by and they hug each other. Instead of talking, they awkwardly hum a tune and walk away from each other. After a few more awkward encounters, Gumball invited Hot Dog Guy over for a sleepover. That night, they're both sleeping in a tent in the backyard. As Hot Dog Guy snores, Gumball takes his quilt off to relax, but Hot Dog unknowingly puts his hand on Gumball. When he tries to move it away, he ends up accidentally crawling on top of him. Hot Dog Guy wakes up and screams internally. We see their figures silhouetted from outside the tent as they hum their awkward songs. This looks totally questionable from outside the tent. Fans have pointed out that this looks a bit inappropriate. What do you think?
The squirrel likes to hide his nuts in many odd places where the sun doesn't shine on them.
Animaniacs. Well, hello, nurse. Remember the Animaniacs? The Warner Bros. Cartoon about the Warner Brothers and the Warner sister Dot is one that 90s kids are very familiar with. But do you remember all of the sexual innuendos that bordered on inappropriate? It was hard to pick just one. But for the sake of this list, we chose one that made us cringe looking back on it. When Yakko asks Dot to dust for Prince, she misunderstands and comes back carrying the singer.
I found Prince!
No, fingerprints.
I don't think so.
How did this even make it on television? And how did our parents allow us to watch it? We can't believe this actually aired for kids to watch. What Animaniacs hijinks do you remember?
Actually, it doesn't say who it's from.
Well, one way to find out. Whoa!
Teen Titans Puppets. Cartoon Network makes some awesome shows, and we have to see Teen Titans is one of our favorite shows. Because the show was geared more towards teens or older kids, the themes of the show were always a little more mature, which also meant the occasional giggle-inducing comments. Like when the Teen Titans get sent a cardboard box of puppets that look like the Titans. The Puppet King emerges and activates his controller, which transfers their souls into their puppets. But before that, Beast Boy and Robin admire their puppets, and Robin remarks at how accurate they are.
Yeah, they got all the details just right.
Speak for yourself.
It seems like they didn't quite get all of Beast Boy right. TMI, Beast Boy. Dexter's Lab, Dad's Trophy. Hey friends, we won't ask you to get out of our laboratory. In fact, come right on in. If you remember this awesome Cartoon Network show, then you'll probably remember that it too was full of some inappropriate moments that we didn't quite understand as kids. One of them happens in a Part 2 episode called Nuclear Confusion. As per usual, Dee Dee is involved in ruining Dexter's day. He creates the ultimate reading lame and Dee Dee steals the power source. But of course, the power core is also an hour away from melting down and destroying the Earth. Naturally, Dee Dee has not made it easy for him to get the power source back. She leaves him clues that involve eating all the pies that Mom is making. The clues lead him to go next door. He asks the neighbor lady if she has his source. She laughs it off and asks if he wants cookies. She bends over after she drops one of the cookies and he sees that on her bum it says Dad's trophy. We don't think we need to explain the objectification of these words written on her rear, do we? We just want to know how Dee Dee was able to write that on the neighbor lady. Wow, there you have it. Those were some subtle messages in kids' cartoons that parents wouldn't approve of. What'd you think? Are there any we missed? Which ones did you find the most shocking? Let us know in the comments below. And before you go, here is the answer to the emoji quiz. Did you get it? Let us know. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to Screen Rant and stay up to date with the latest videos. Bye-bye for now.